A very warm welcome to this evening's presentation, and this is on Are You Dreading Christmas After Family Dramas of the Past? So why are you here? You're probably here because you are not looking forward to Christmas, either because of other people's behaviour or because of your own. And for me, it was both. Perhaps it's the way your family's treated you, the arguing, or your own behaviour. Well, you are in the right place if you have suffered some pretty miserable times in the past and want this year to be different. And I am going to show you how. So just while we're waiting for everyone to jump on the call, I'd like you to check your internet connection, close the other tabs on your computer, and make sure the volume's up. And please do ask questions as we go along, although there will be some time at the end where you'll be able to type into the chat box and share any particular problem that you're facing right now. So for most people, family gatherings during the holidays are really stress-free. But for some, these feelings go so much deeper, and that might be you right now, where many people just dread the holidays. They become stressed and anxious in the weeks leading up to a family get-together, and that could be you sitting where you are now. Feeling stressed out by the people you love can be so isolating, as it isn't something you share with your friends. But if you're one of the people for whom this is the case, you really are not alone. Most people feel some degree of stress surrounding their families. And although some people stress about it more than others because of their personalities or family history, the stress itself can become very normal. The actual events themselves of the past are not stressful. It's actually the perception that stresses us out. I've got a message coming in here already. I'm still waiting for a few people to hop on the call. But Ellie says, why do we get so stressed about seeing family around the holidays in particular, when we so want it to go well? Well, expectations are one of the biggest reasons that cause us huge stress. We tend to watch Christmas specials on TV, and it really is not reality. We think this should be the perfect time. The food will be perfect. Our conversations will be respectful. But when realities don't match up, we get frustrated. And holidays can also be a time where we're reminded of what we don't have, further highlighting the celebration's non-idyllic qualities. Does that resonate with any of you right now? Sometimes those realities don't match up to a fantasy simply because we're human. Relatives' annoying behaviour doesn't cease on holidays despite their best efforts. In most cases, we're just not capable of creating the ideal. More people have more complex family structures these days. Parents divorce and remarry. Families blend. And as a result, traditions clash. These traditions are deeply rooted in our religion, our identities, and our childhood. And in short, they are emotionally charged. And celebrating holidays in a new way brings its own form of disappointment. And family also brings special forms of baggage. I have seen grown siblings start to behave as if they were 10 years old. Does this sound familiar? Either from your behaviour, I know it does with me. I used to go back to when I was about 13, and it absolutely used to make me cringe to think back on about my behaviour. People are returning to their parents' homes for holidays, and they may be feeling guilty for not being as close as they once were. Or family members' habits that may have been innocuous when you were all living under the same roof now just seem totally intolerable. So that's a little bit perhaps about how you're feeling right now. Just give a couple more minutes while we wait for people to hop on to the call. Occasionally, though, disastrous family gatherings can have long-term effects and on our health as well. If we get accumulation of stress and the souring of relationships themselves, we can really find it having a massive impact on our lives. And this is really not what we want. There's no reason to assume that this family gathering will be any different to any others. So let's take this opportunity now and prepare mentally for some of the disappointment you may feel if the Christmas celebration is more of a farce than a wonderful time. So wonderful. That's great. I think most people are here now. So I just make a quick introduction to me. I am Louise Armstrong and I'm a family relationship coach, and I help people who are suffering deep pain and hurt from relationships. And these could be relationships with your partner, your husband, your mother, your father, perhaps a child, or perhaps a friend. So we're covering all relationships there. I myself have really suffered in the past, especially with my mother. I've had a deeply destructive relationship with my mother for 35 years, which has impacted on holiday after holiday after holiday, as well as other times of getting together. And it's pretty apt because at this moment in time, Mum and Dad are actually on a 2-week visit staying with us here in Dubai as I record this webinar tonight. So it's funny timing, isn't it? But yes, so my aim of this webinar is for each and every one of you to take away something from here so you are able to enjoy your Christmas and not dread it as you have had done so in the past few years. We've got a message coming in now from Nikki, and she says, how can I stop my sister's bad behaviour? I think it stems from jealousy, but she is really quite mean to me and I dread seeing her. So can we really have a Christmas without the drama? Is this possible? Well, Nikki, it is possible if we look at this in a different light. So let's take all the pressure off your sister and let's focus on you. You are not responsible for your sister's behaviour, but you are responsible for how you react to her behaviour. So as we go through the expectations and acceptance, you will understand how you can change your behaviour towards your sister so you are not affected. We cannot control anyone else but ourselves. So we're taking the focus off the others and we're thinking about this in a totally new way. I want you to really remember and keep that at the forefront of your mind, that you cannot control what happens in life, but you can, and it is your responsibility, how you react to certain situations. So take a think right now, all of you, as Nikki has done so, and it's her sister who's pushing her buttons. Why do certain people push your buttons? How does it hurt you? And why do you let them inside of your head? Because you have a choice here. You have a choice whether you are going to let these people affect you or not. So, question, would you like just to get through Christmas without feeling disappointed, let down, insulted, or like you've turned your back into the teenager, into the presence of your family? So is this you right now? Well, we're going to discuss today on our call how to get through Christmas dinner without having a meltdown, how to shift our expectations of our family members so you're not so stressed out, how to handle it when someone is giving you a really hard time, how to stop needing their approval so you can relax and enjoy yourself, what to do when your values and beliefs are being challenged by your family, and how to stand up for yourself and put yourself first without creating World War III. Once you master these, you'll find you can apply them over and over again in similar situations with your loved ones, even when they drive you half crazy. So today, how do you want to feel going forward into the Christmas season? Accepted, welcomed, needed, valued, content. Perhaps it's freedom you're looking for, or are you looking to be loved? Well, all of these here, you are not going to find from other people because they all start inside of you. And we have such a misconception here that we look for these feelings outside of us. We're constantly looking to others for praise, acceptance, validation of who we are and what we're doing. We look at surrounding ourselves with material goods, the house, the car, the clothes, where we should be eating out, the holidays, the jewellery, so we feel good inside and accepted as part of society. But guess what? The reality is these feelings come from inside. We make them. We don't need to search for them because they aren't out there. Those things I just mentioned don't last. Yes, they give us a good feeling for a short period of time and they give us a nice kick, but they fade. So when you constantly look to place your happiness on external situations and try and control things outside of your life, it becomes so stressful because these things are out of your control. You have no control over anyone else or anything else. But what you can control is what is going on inside of you. And when you can do that, you feel so empowered because no one else can touch you. And Claire here says, how do I stop needing my mum to accept me for who I am? So Claire here wants to be accepted. Well, the big thing is, Claire, is you don't need to be accepted. As I mentioned earlier, I spent 35 years craving my mother's acceptance, and I never got it. However hard I tried, I never got it. The day came when I stopped needing that acceptance, but I actually became accepted. So you don't need it. Really let that sit into you. You really don't need it. You are enough. So thank you for that, Claire, because I think many of us feel the same way. I know I certainly did for most of my life. So expectations is huge. We all have our own expectations, and all of our expectations are different, and they will come from the different perception that we have on life, made up of our values, beliefs, and our patterns that have all built up over the years since childhood. So how do we get through Christmas dinner without having a meltdown? And how do we shift our expectations of our family members so that you're just not stressed out? Well, I changed my perception from what I hoped would happen to being open to experience actually whatever happens on the day. So by that we mean living in the now. So I come away from all expectation because there is no expectation. I'm only going to be disappointed because it isn't going to work out the way I thought and the way I hoped. So one of these things you can do is to let it go. Just throw expectations out there to the wind and assumptions out the door and release your hopes and wishes and dreams that things will change. So you're going to detach yourself totally from the ideas you hope will be happening, because this really is a fantasy world and you are living with a fantasy mind if you are thinking and hoping that all this is going to change. So to keep your mind from running into the future, you need to stay in the present moment. And a couple of things can help you do that. Relaxation is brilliant at helping you stay in the moment, and you also cannot be relaxed and stressed at the same time. So do message me below, because I do have a couple of relaxation tapes that are about 15 recordings, should I say, sorry, about 15 minutes long, and they really do help you to relax and wind down, and you can play them over and over again. So relaxation is great, and also meditation. There's quite a few free meditation apps out there, and you only have to do it for 5 minutes. So there's www.calm.com, and there's also headspace.com. So these things are going to help you to stay present. So that's one thing you can do. Something else you can do is to be aware of reality. So really look at what is going on now. Acknowledge the other person's behavior. Look at their patterns and how they treat you. Remember what happened last year. Don't gloss over it and hope that it's going to be any different this year, because chances are it won't. So don't be fooled into believing things are going to be different. You can also do something here when you're feeling stressed and irate. You can change your focus onto the people who do love you. So for me, when I was feeling particularly stressed at the dinner table, for example, I would have in my mind my children, because they gave me that warm, loving feeling, and that worked for me. So it could be anything. It could even be your dog. It really doesn't matter. So you're going to focus on the people or the animals who make you feel loved. Just keep them at the forefront of your mind. Something I used to do, and I'm really not proud of, is manipulating situations. So we need to really stop manipulating situations, because when we manipulate people to get them to do things we want them to do, we're actually left feeling really empty, especially when it doesn't work out in the way that we want. So something else you can do is we really need to learn to love ourselves. And you can take a break from the table, go into the bathroom, just look in the mirror and quietly say to yourself, I love you. And it will start dissolving all that anger, all that annoyance and all that negativity. So let go of your expectations of people and see how your relationship starts to change. And if you don't feel any differently about it, or if it's not benefiting you, you know what? You can always just walk away. It's going to be far better just to walk away, because your emotional state is the most important. You cannot control other people, but you can make yourself happy. You can also start doing daily success rituals right now, which are doing things for other people without expectation. So simply smiling at a stranger on the road and not expecting them to smile back. So it's giving without any expectation of receiving. So that's something you can do with expectations. Acceptance. How do we handle it when someone is giving you a hard time? How do you stop needing their approval so you can relax and enjoy yourself? It's amazing how often we crave the acceptance and approval of those who just won't accept us. It's such an unhealthy pattern to continually pursue people who reject us. We do this because we see our lovability, if you like, as directly related to their approval. So we keep trying to better or just do more. We do this so we can approve of ourselves through another person's approval of us, as if their approval finally makes us good enough. The healthiest way out of this pattern is to look at why we deeply believe we need the acceptance of those people. Do they really determine our worth? Should we have to prove ourselves all the time only to hear we are not measuring up? I'm going to talk to you now about a few realities that you might not know about other people. And really bear this in mind and take some notes as you're going along. Sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier, but other people do not determine your self-worth. We as individuals determine our own worth. Just because someone else rejects you and doesn't accept you does not mean you are not an amazing person. So we need to invest in ourselves, because if we don't invest emotionally in ourselves and look after ourselves and satisfy our needs, no one else is going to. So when you're pursuing people who consistently reject and hurt us, we're actually going against ourselves and our needs. And let's face it, some people just are not going to like us. And not everybody is going to like us. We don't have to be liked by everybody. And I'm not particularly liked by my sister-in-law. I don't really know why. I've been told that she's jealous of us, but I don't really know. But that's fine. I accept her for how she is. I don't have to be her best friend. I don't have to be accepted by her. But I do need to be kind. I do need to get along in these situations, and I do need to be at peace with myself so that I am not craving that acceptance by the family. So I move on. and I don't try and change their opinion. It won't matter to them how great we are or how much we do for them. They will have no problem taking what we give, but it's likely they won't change if they like us or not. And it is far more powerful to just let it go. Let go of really trying to be accepted. Whatever we force, we push away. It's actually one of the laws. So when we fight for something that isn't going to happen, we begin to look and feel a bit silly. Never ever confuse forgiveness with foolishness. The most powerful thing we can do is to rise above the situation and untangle our self-worth from the person we believe we need the approval from. And all of this is a complete waste of emotional energy. When we continue to work so hard at trying to get this acceptance and approval we want and get the same rejection time and time again, we come to a point where we realise we're absolutely wasting our time. Let them be. Do you know what? We have enough respect ourselves to move on. Put our energy into relationships which support us and are mutually beneficial. So stand back from the situation. There is nothing more powerful than the pure acceptance of knowing when something or someone isn't good for us, even when we desperately want it from them, and we let them go. So you do that. Who do you desperately want to be accepted by and it just isn't working? You know what? Take a big step back and become so powerful. Acknowledge you don't need it. You don't need that acceptance. Fantastic. And lastly, you know what? You could look at like this. People are just people. At the end of the day, who really cares? You know, when you logically look at it, it is quite ridiculous that we think we need this approval from certain people we are never going to get it from. You can be nice, you can be smiley, you can be generous, you can be confident. You do not need anything from those people. You be that person that you want others to be. You be that person. Don't wait for them. Okay, rejection, a massive one, rejection, because a lot of us feel rejection every single day of our lives, really. So what to do when your values and beliefs are being challenged by your family. How to stand up for yourself and put yourself first without creating World War III. Okay, the biggie here, guys, for rejection, it is not personal. Do not take it personally, whatever the rejection is. Sometimes rejection is simply caused by an incompatibility of values, beliefs, or personal types between people, and it is simple as that. The scenario where rejection happens because people disagree with your life choices, perhaps where you live or what job you're doing. I know for me, that's been massive. So many of my family on both sides of our families, on Ian's side and my side, are really have issues with us living in Dubai. But at the end of the day, it's our choice. You know, and they really don't accept that we live here. So perhaps for you, it might be that you've got a completely different opinion or a lifestyle or a personality, and so you're going to feel that rejection. So in these cases, all you can really do is accept that someone else is rejecting you because of their expectations for you. Nothing to do with you personally. It's often due to someone else's inability to accept you for who you are. And they are also entitled to think like that. So accept that this is generally their issue and not yours. So how do we respond to rejection? It's not always easy to recognize if there's something to learn from rejection, or if the rejection is merely a consequence of someone else's unmet expectations. But the distinction becomes much clearer when we develop self-awareness about our behaviours and how they affect others. So do not take rejection personally. Remember that the rejection says nothing about you as a person. Getting rejected is part of life, and it is not a personal attack. Do not allow it to control your future. Rejection, as I've already said, is a part of life. You can use it to improve yourself. You know, sometimes rejection, it can be a wake-up call. So you can look at it and thought, you know what, they're perhaps right. You don't have to tell them, but you can make those changes. And again, talking about letting go, stop dwelling on it. It's time to let it go. You've already given yourself time to grieve. You've talked it over and over with a trusted friend. You've learned what you can from it. And now put it in the past. You've done everything you can. So let it go, because the more you dwell on it, the bigger it comes. Remember, you are also allowed to say no. This is especially hard for women because we don't say no. Don't take it personally. As we've said before, the only reason we suffer the sting of rejection is because we feel emotionally attached to a person. Had we no emotions towards that person, their rejection would not mean anything. Rejection carries a burden with it, and we can put it entirely on our shoulders, and we blame nobody but ourselves. We truly believe there must be something really wrong with us to cause a person to dismiss us. So it really is not about you. When someone rejects you, they are acting on their own insecurities and their own fears. I mean, rejection can be harsh and cruel because it is a manifestation, really, of a lot of self-sufficiencies inside of us. And it won't be a new pain. This pain stems from childhood, so you can actually trace rejection back as to why you're feeling it so painfully, because it didn't start now. It actually started when you were very young, under the age of 7. A person who rejects you cannot comprehend your inner and outer beauty. So what does that mean? Is they cannot cope with the fact that you are just so amazing. So what they do is they try and put you down. I mean, that is a possibility as well. Now, rejection does give us a chance to evolve. It gives us a chance to grow. And sometimes feeling rejection, you can actually come back to that person on a different approach. And you can actually turn rejection around and actually become friends if you so choose, and you can see it from the other place. But really, the top and bottom of rejection is it is not personal, and really have that imprinted on your mind. So once you master all of these expectations, acceptance and rejection, you will find that you can do this over and over and over again in very similar situations with all your loved ones. So it can even just be for a family lunch. It can be, any time throughout the year, but it becomes much more prominent over Christmas because of all the hype that was supposed to have this amazing time together. And then one of the great reasons I've done this webinar is because last January, I just heard basically disaster after disaster, and I'm really trying to preempt that. So we seriously need to look after ourselves. So it is about us. So I really want you to take this on board today. Look after you, because when you feel good, when you feel happy, when you feel amazing, that makes you a better wife, a better partner, a better mother, a better child, a better friend. You exude that onto other people. So it's all about looking after you. Just remembering when you get on a flight, and if there's an issue on the flight with oxygen, the air stewardess will ask you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before helping your child. And that could not be truer. You have to start putting yourself first. When you feel great, everybody else benefits. So that's about looking after your needs. What makes you tick? How do you feel good? Not everybody else. You are not responsible for their happiness. You are responsible for your own. Because if you feel great, everyone else is going to feel in a better mood. You know yourself, you want to be around people who are feeling happy. You don't want to be around people who are moaning. So allow yourself 30 minutes a day from now up until Christmas, where you are going to look after you and put you first and do something that you love. Is it walking? Is it reading a book? Is it having a luxurious bath? Is it trying a new meditation? Is it starting a new class? Is it starting a new hobby, a new project. Doesn't matter what it is you, your time. You are valuing you. Trust me, the better you feel about you on the inside, the better time you have on the outside. So just look around your world right now. Everything that you can see in your world, you have created. So if you want to create yourself having a wonderful Christmas holiday, remember, you are not responsible for anyone else. You are not controlling anyone else. You have no idea how anyone else is going to behave. You're totally in control of your reactions and your behavior. And you do not allow anyone else to get in there and ruin your Christmas. You are going to have a fantastic time regardless. So my special offer to you over this festive period is I'm going to support you from now up until Christmas. I'm not quite sure of the way I'm going to support you. It may well be through messaging. It may be through some phone calls. It may be private messaging. It might be nice to set up a group area for us on my Facebook page, which is here. Let's Talk Relationships and Life. If you're not a member now, please do come over and join us. It's a fantastic group of women where we all collaborate together. We lift each other up. And it could be that we have a nice safe spot in the group for us to really share our struggles, our worries over this Christmas period, when we're actually faced with it, when we're actually at the meal there and we actually need some help. So I'm more than happy to support anyone and every single one of you to get you through this time, because I have suffered so deeply in my life and it is so transformed now. My life is so different in every single way. So that is the end today. If you've got any questions, please just put them in the chat box right away now. Helen's coming up with, is it possible just not to go at all? Yes, it is. It is. If it is so stressful and you have looked at every other way, do you know what? The best thing is not to go. And a lot of us don't see that as an option, but it is an option. We all have a choice. And well done, Helen, and thank you for bringing that up. That's a really relevant one. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining me here today on my first ever webinar, and I wish you an amazing Christmas. And I do hope some of these tips have helped you. Do come into our Facebook, log on to my website, which you'll see there, www.louise-armstrong.com. There's lots of tips, there's lots of free resources. There's my relationship breakthrough guide, which will help you as well. And there's my email address if you want to personally email me. So you've got lots of support, you've got lots of hope. You do not need to stay where you are dreading the occasion ahead. So thanks very much indeed for joining me today. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.